whether or not pub staff should be expected to limit people's drinking. All of that still to come. Excellent. First up, though, Suzi Quatro is here, the original queen of rock and roll. She's been in the business for nearly 60 years and has sold more than 55 million records worldwide. But now, love that. Now she's teamed up with another female rock icon for her brand new album. Before we chat, let's take a look at a few of her bangers. Oh, brilliant. I love seeing you watching that as well, and you're kind of going with it and singing along and then commenting on your youth back in the first ones. And
I was 23.
Yeah, 23.
I love it when they say, oh, you haven't changed, and then they play one of those. It's great. Thank you.
In the end then as well, we saw your collaboration with Katie Tunstall. Tell us about this then. How did this come about?
Oh, God, I got to make a long story short. We met briefly at a big Elvis extravaganza in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And then I was a fan of hers. I didn't know she was a fan of mine. And I was watching the rough cut of Suzi Q, my documentary.
Yeah.
There she was. So we had the friend of mutual friend got us together. We talked. We wrote 2 songs remotely. And I quite quickly realized something's going on here.
Yeah.
So I invited her down to the house. She stayed 3 or 4 nights. We sat on the front carpet in my house, barefoot, guitar, bass, paraphernalia all around, and we started to talk. And I mean, we talked.
Yeah.
We went the, you know how you can do. We went the distance. And all of a sudden, after the talk, and all of a sudden, there's a song in front of us. And the whole album was like that. It's such a magical journey.
Wow. So what were you talking about?
Everything that's important to us.
Yeah. Like
truth is my weapon. Like shine a light. You know, the people that don't want you to be successful.
These are the names of your songs, aren't they?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Some of the, it's face to face. And I had that title, and she kept saying, why should it be called Face to Face? And I said, because when we're talking, we're like this.
Yeah.
And every picture you see of us, we're like that. So 2 artists got together, and we neither one, see, there we are. Neither one of us drove the car. We were passengers in this thing called creativity.
Wow.
And it was beautiful. We became emotionally vulnerable with each other. There were difficult areas. You know, maybe I didn't want to go there, maybe she didn't want to go there, but we did go there.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're hearing on this album.
I'm so intrigued to understand, like, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall, but how the talking then leads to the music. Are you saying something and you're going, right, actually, can you get some lyrics from that? How does it work?
Yeah, when you're an artist, your antenna is always up. So even if I'm having a conversation with you, you just might say or do something, and I go, well, but while we were talking, we're both artists, we're both songwriters, and we got our up like this. And she might say something, and I would just not even look at her, just write it, you know, and you just knew this magic moment when there was a song.
Yeah.
Like that one. She asked me, that was the first song we wrote sitting on the carpet together. The other 2 were remote on internet.
Yeah.
And she said, what was the biggest lesson you learned in your I said, oh, that's easy. I was about 10 years old, and I was at a pajama party with all girls, obviously. And it got to about midnight, still not sleeping, because you don't sleep with those things. And I said, why don't we play the truth game? And I thought it would be fun and informative to tell each person, quite interesting, a truth about it got ugly. Yeah, you can imagine. All of a sudden, people started to get nasty. So we talked about how truth is a wonderful thing, but it can be a weapon in somebody's hands, and it can turn on you. So be careful. But truth is the only friend you need. I stick by my truth.
Yeah. And you, am I right in thinking as well, your son kind of heard you working and wanted...
He did.
And then ended up being part of it.
He happened to be, because we've done 2 albums together so far, written and produced, 2 successful albums. He was down in the kitchen. He doesn't live with me, but he was down there for some reason. And we were writing. And as we were putting it down on her little recorder, he ran the distance of the house. I have a long house, probably as long as the studio. Ran down, he went, what was that? And we both said, it's a song we just heard. He went, wow. And he ended up producing the album.
Oh, wow.
It's a cute story. I'll tell you quickly. We were on the Skype, KT and I, and the album was coming to that serious stage where the real bass tracks get put down and the guitars get put down. And I said to her, because Richard, my son, had played on the first 3 demos. So I said, would you like at this stage now for Richard to add some electric? And she said, you tell Richard to take those tracks and do whatever he thinks is necessary. In fact, I'm officially asking Richard to produce this album. Now, me being his mother, I went and I wanted to scream, but instead I went, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll give him a call when we have, oh, God, somebody's at the door. I got to go call you back. Complete lies. Nobody was at the door. I hung up the Skype. I went, Richard!
Oh, that's
I was so pleased for him, yeah.
Because your kids, I mean, they've been a big part of your music anyway, because when you were touring back in the day, I know you're still touring now, but you used to take them when they were little with you, didn't you?
Well, I didn't have easy pregnancies, and I had 2 cesareans, and I had a miscarriage, and I have low fertility, so a lot went on for me to even have these kids.
Yeah.
And then when I did have them, I said to my ex-husband now, I didn't have these kids to leave them at home. So we hired a full-time nanny, and they traveled the world. Fantastic. They saw Japan, Australia, America. We went everywhere with them until they got to school age, serious school age, and then it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
So then we had to try to make our tours go in between it. But, yeah, they have seen the world.
Yeah. And you're a grandma now, aren't you, as well?
Yeah, she's 22.
Yeah.
And she's just beginning her, I don't argue with her anymore, she's beginning her master's degree in philosophy at King's College.
Oh, wow.
And you know when you're having those grandma talks and you think you got the upper hand?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Tell me about this ego room you two have created as well.
I do, folks. I have an ego room. And people say to me, how do you stay normal?
Yeah.
It's because I have a room. You go up 2 flights of stairs, crooked corridor, you come to a very heavy wooden door, and I had a little sign made, wooden plaque, and it says, ego room, mind your head. and you go in, and the first thing you see is, this is your life, big red book. And it's virtually everything I've ever done is in this room. You can go in there, you can sit there, you can watch a video, you can look at a scrapbook, go down memory lane. But the important thing is when you come out of that room, you shut the door.
And
so I have a space for my ego.
Yeah. And your granddaughter helped you put this together?
Oh, my God, she was doing it with me for about 6 hours we were up there. I gave her a job of putting stuff on the ceiling, pictures, and putting stuff back in the scrapbooks. And she's only about 12 or 13 at the time. And she said, Grandma, I have to go downstairs now. I said, why, honey? She said, I can't look at you anymore. Bless her.
Yeah, and so you're going to be going back out on tour, aren't you? Because it's the 50th anniversary of your first #1.
50 years since Cam the Count was #1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm playing. Let me see. The London Palladium is on the 15th. The 12th is where am I going first? Wales, Cardiff, then Brighton. 15th London Palladium, then I'm going up to Wolverhampton, and then Manchester's the last gig on the 18th. So what a thing to celebrate.
Yeah, amazing. And you'll never stop, I doubt.
Should I say my famous quote?
Go on.
I said it when I was 35, and it's followed me my whole life. So a silly journalist said to me, at 35, when are you going to retire? So I said, when I go on stage, and I turn around, and I shake my ass, and there's silence. Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I love that. Suzi, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy to have you here. Thank you. Oh, and still to come, John's going to be serving up some autumnal treats.